So in the last video, I talked about what is a step-by-step process, right, for you to go ahead and become a full stack developer. You're starting from scratch. How do you start from ground zero to getting a full-time full stack developer job? So in this video, I'm going to talk in detail about the very first step and what are the free courses that are available on some of the sites which you can go and like make sure that you gather enough knowledge for step one. So step one is knowing the fundamentals or the basics of web applications. Before you start with any of the programming at all, it is important that you understand like what a request and response is, what is a HTTP protocol, what is a browser, what is HTML, CSS, and all. So I see many of my friends who started like from different careers and who went into software development. So they faced a lot of hurdles because they first started with programming. When you first start with programming, that's a big step forward, and then you lose your interest because there's a lot of effort that goes into it, and the results come very slowly. So first, it's important to understand the basic technologies that you'll have to learn for sure. But once you learn them at the starting, since those are easier, you'll find it more interesting. You have to do less work, and you'll see more output of it, right? And like once your interest is developed into the basic technologies and you understand the basic stuff, next step would be to pick a language and learn that language and do some programming and all, right? So step one is just knowing the basics of web application development. So let's go through the first course, which we see which should be very, very beneficial for you guys. So this is the first course, which is on Coursera. It's completely free. You can enroll in it, right? And like once you enroll in it, like you can just audit. So let's go through the syllabus of this course. Uh, so if you see, like it's very nicely structured. So in week one, it talks about some of the basic stuff, right? Where it gives a historical perspective that how the internet came into being and all, and then it tells about some of the basic networking concepts, right? What is internet, and some hot topics and all, and then it gives like what is a web application development, like what is a web application, right? Talks about some of the design patterns, how a web application is structured, like, or what are the different components, which is in tiers. So it talks about it, and you can maybe skip this part, which is the fourth, which is setting up of your development environment, because I don't expect you to do any coding at all in your step one. The full course does cover Ruby and Rails, but you don't have to cover, right? So all you have to do is do the basic stuff first. So for week one, you have to cover lesson one, lesson two, and lesson three. Lesson four could be skipped. And when we talk about week two, so you have to cover just the first one, the second lesson, which talks about Ruby on Rails framework, and also Rails and Agile programming philosophies. These both could be skipped, but third is a good one, and you'll also be using it. So yeah, so I think like third should all like sorry, the fourth one should also be completed. For week three, complete lesson one, and also lesson two could be completed, and the next could be these could be skipped because those are a bit higher level, which you don't need to know on day one. You definitely have to go through these also, but those would be in the advanced courses. So in week four, this is very important. Like the week four, like all of these, lesson one is very important too, and third one you can skip because it talks about in Rails, MVC in Rails, but like go skim through it, but don't be stuck on like any one of the videos. Again, the intention is not to program, but to know all the theoretical concepts and all that are in the basic that form the basics of web programming. Uh, Week five is really good because it talks about like different components of a website, like what HTML is, what CSS and all is. And it also talks about the dynamic parts of the website. So what is Ajax? Like how when like suppose you go to a website, you click something and the data would change, right? How the data changes and all, how exactly that happens behind the scenes. So it covers a bit of that. So this is course number this is the course number one, and let's see what's the next course which we could do, which is free. So another free course, which is course number two, is Introduction to Web Development. and this is from UC Davis. And if you go to this course, this is the course that you should for sure do. The contents of these are very, very, very relevant to the full stack web application developer role, right? So don't miss any of the stuff. You might find this course to be a bit advanced, but that's fine if it takes more time. Go through it. When it, if you're just doing this course as a first course and you're finding it tough, I would say try to read some get some theoretical knowledge and all, and come back to this course again. But this should be like your first or second course for sure. So if you see like the contents of this, so week one is good. It talks about like what exactly is like hosting and all. What when you name a website, what is the domain? How do you register it? And once you register it, like where do you host your stuff? Like where do you put all the contents of the website? So week two talks about HTML. So those are the basic stuff that builds your that builds the site that's shown in the browser. So it talks about that stuff. So week three talks about JavaScript. This can be like they just talk about the basic stuff. They don't talk about anything complex and all. So it is good. Like go through it and try like whatever exercise and all of there. Week four is very interesting one. It shows like how various elements in a browser could be styled. So it is a very this part is really very interesting. Like even though like the whole course is basic, it covers the basic technology and all. And I feel like each week and the course material, the way they have it has been structured is very very good. And next is creating of the forms, HTML forms. So you go to sites, you will see that there would be a form to fill in your username, password, or capture your date of birth and all. So this part of the course tells us that how to create those forms, how to add some validation logic and all, right? Maybe you want to make it required. Maybe you want to check whether the email is valid or not. So how do you do that? And at the last week, the course tells about what is the difference between a front end, like which you see in the browser, and the back end, like the stuff that goes to a server where the logic and all is performed. So, and also it talks about some of the basic like while loops and all, which you use in JavaScript. So overall, I feel like this course should not be missed at all, any cost. And this should be like maybe your second course or first course when you start. And uh, and and don't take the language courses until you have done with the basic web programming, like the basic web application stuff and all, right? So once you go through it, you will understand the whole flow, that how everything structures, how everything fits together. You'll find the things more and more interesting. And after you're done with this course, there could be like one course you do, but you would be ready for the third level, which would be then learning a programming language and all. So those two courses were free, but there's one more course which is paid. So I just looked at the content and all. I find them to be very relevant. This is also covered somewhat in the first course and a bit in the second course also. So if you feel like the payment is not worth, don't go for it. But if you feel like I didn't check like what exactly is the price, but hopefully it's like few dollars. But if you see that they are charging a handsome money, you can just skip this course. But it is really like it is a very short course. It's like 67 minutes course, where it talks about some of the basic stuff which I've seen some developers who have been working in the industry like for a couple of years and still don't know. So you should know all of these stuffs by heart, because what would happen is maybe you know a language, right? And an interviewer would ask you like all the language questions, and you'll clear those up. But once you fail on these basic things, they would just think that your concepts are not clear, right? So this is a good course, because if you see here, it talks about like what is HTTP protocol, how does request look like, what is HTTP header and all. So not a very interesting one, but a very important one for sure. So I hope like these three courses will help you in progressing through the step one, which is knowing the basics of web application development, and then it'll be easy for you to move to the next step, which will be learning a programming language. And the programming language which you should learn is of course JavaScript. But after you're done with the step one, you will develop a lot of confidence, and there are some exercises already in the step one in these courses, which are easier to do, and you could see the results right away. So let me know if you need more information, or if you are struggling with any of the courses, or struggling with like how to get a software job. I can help you out. Let me know in the comments below, and I will for sure reply to them.